Do you love video games and film? Do you want to work in an industry that you love but also want to detest? Then I have just the position for you. Gaming journalist. Through our hard-hitting course, you too can gain the knowledge and understanding of hypocrisy and work for the likes of Kotaku, IGN, and any number of other big and small brand gaming news sites. We'll teach you the art of outrage, how to stay woke and be on top of the latest Twitter trends, and make contradicting headlines from one story to the next about the exact same subject, all while making the company that you work for lots of ad revenue. Compliment how sex in games has gotten better in one article, and then patiently wait 2 days and create a brand new one about how the Me Too movement is there, and that sex in video games is exploitation and has no place in your industry. Or how video games don't cause violence or influence people's thoughts or opinions, only to then make sure everyone knows that the narrative and gameplay of a game you don't care for influences people's thoughts and opinions and will make them violent. With our online program, we can reprogram your brain not to see things like hypocrisy, so long as you sound virtuous. Sign up now and join one of our online re-education camps today. And remember, citizen, war is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength.
This is Crashed While Loading, the fusion of entertainment and information.
Hello there.
Weekly updates and opinions on video games,
You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
movies,
I'm about to do to you what Limp Bizkit did to music in the late 90s.
TV shows,
This is the way.
This is the way.
and so much more.
JJ, what do you want to do tonight?
Off. We need to go on a quick adventure. Hello, people of the internet, and welcome to the 26th episode of Crashed While Loading, now powered purely by adult ADHD, the one and only way to make anything happen on the internet. I'm easily distracted, but also hopefully that's highly entertaining. Ooh, look at that. I forgot I had that on my desk. Anyway, oh yeah, Poncho. Yeah, doing that. So anyway, I'm Ashen Phoenix. That really is actually, unfortunately, closer to the truth than is probably comfortable. But, yeah, it's a self-diagnosis. And, frankly, as somebody that has watched a lot of TV, like I watched all of the old ER episodes, I'm basically a doctor at this point. I watched Doogie Howser. I mean, Dr. Horrible, sing-along blog. I mean, what part of any of this is not me being a doctor? I own a lab coat and a nurse's uniform. I have an explanation for that one. One, it's comfortable. It's actually not. It's, by the way, women's sizes are not the same as men's, for those of you in the curious, and it's very tight around the middle. But it was also for the nurse's Joker costume from the Batman movies, is what I'm going to go with. So
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
yeah, that's just how this works. You have to take my word for it. How dare you assume my doctor credentials? I cannot believe that someone out there would do such a thing. Frankly, it insults me. And as I carefully drink my coffee, slowly, and scare the dog under my feet by doing that, she just jumped up about 6 inches. Sorry, Cloud. Well, kind of startled me. Anyway, I appreciate you tuning in. Crash While Loading, twitch.tv/Crash While Loading. If you're listening to it on the podcast, you can watch it live, usually Saturday, more often Sunday, and for some reason lately Mondays. But I'm trying to get away from that because it is very inconvenient to most people, including myself. I do like to inconvenience myself for some reason. I've noticed it is a trend among many people that they like to inconvenience themselves. And why? Because procrastination is the way of the nation. I'm actually going to stick with that. That sounded pretty good in my head, and it sounded even better out loud. So, hey, cool. I made a catchphrase. Yes. Anyway, so, the show. It's a show about games, blah, blah, blah. If you listen to the intro, you already know all this stuff. So, let's see. What have I been doing this week? I've watched a lot of TV. I have. We actually just today watched a movie called Black Box on Amazon that was surprisingly good, actually. It was a little bit of a slow burn at the start. I'm not going to spoil it, but I will say it was actually worth it. We got to the end. I will say Dr. Huxtable, the wife, not Bill Cosby, is in it. So are other people, but you wouldn't really recognize them from much of anything. So there's really no point in going over them. She was the one that from the get-go, I'm like, okay, she's very familiar, but I cannot recall which 90s sitcom mom she is. And thankfully, Sid was there to tell me it was Bill Cosby's wife, Mrs. Huxtable, which I think she was a doctor too. I know he was, but I swear she was a doctor as well. So I'm going to call her Dr. Huxtable. She had a totally different last name in this, but it doesn't matter because she is Dr. Huxtable.
Don't nobody understand the words that are coming out of your mouth, man.
Yeah. So anyway, but no, it was real good. It was kind of a horror and then suspense movie, a little bit mixed. One slowly turned into another. But I would say it was well worth a watch. If you have Amazon Prime, it's well worth the price because it's already included in Prime. It's an Amazon movie, so you don't have to pay for it, which is the exact price we were looking for when going through all the movies to try to watch, in which we found several. We actually found one with, ironically, it was Kevin Costner and what's-her-face that played Martha in the Batman, versus Superman, that were Clark Kent's Superman's parents. They're in a movie together, completely separate from the DC universe, and I saw it, and they look exactly like Ma and Pa Kent, and I was like, that is really weird. Is it Laura Kane? I can't remember. I don't know her name as well as, his, which now I've said his name, Kevin Costner. I like Kevin Costner, so that's a big fan of his. Even in his shitty movies like Waterworld, I like Waterworld. The Postman, I like The Postman. They're ridiculous movies. They're crazy long. They're notoriously over budget. At least one of them was at the time. And I like them. I mean, you can't go wrong with a good Kevin Costner movie, especially Men in Tights. Think about it. Anyway, that was really good. Black Box, Amazon. It was actually surprising that for something we just came across that it was as good as it was being in that genre. It's also Blumhouse, which Blumhouse does pretty good on most horror things. So another thing, we're actually we're breaking our way through Breaking Bad. I know we're about 15 years behind the times on this one. I can see why it was a big thing at the time. It's definitely it's not up there with the nail-biting, constant stress levels of Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler. But it's series-wise, it's definitely in that. I mean, just one bad thing, if it definitely follows the formula of something good's gonna happen, something bad's gonna stop it. I mean, they are the worst criminals in human history, as far as I can tell. They have more. They're definitely proving the phrase more, better to be lucky than good. But it's very enjoyable. I think we're on the third season, so we're like halfway through it. And there's only 5. First ones, and most of them are 13 episodes. I think the first season was 7. But yeah, so hey, I finally get to caught up with the late 2000 aughts. Which I think that's how you did the 00 at the time. Also, we're on the last season of Rebels, which has been really good. It definitely follows the Clone Wars tradition, I'll say. Tradition. The first season being extremely slow and not altogether as interesting, and then ramping up as every season goes and getting better and better and better, just to culminate in badassery. We're in the end, the dark saber, and with the Mandalorians and Sabine, and I just watching it now. We haven't got to the end yet, but I'm very curious to find out how Moff Gideon got the Darksaber when the Mandalorians had it in their possession. I know the Empire goes back and does really bad things to Mandalore, but it's still very curious how he of all people got that, and the things that will go on there, and what happens with Thrawn and Ezra Bridger. I still want to see Hera and Sabine. I would love to see the live action. They did such a good job bringing them into the Mandalorian, not them, but bringing Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano into the Mandalorian. That those are characters that definitely need to come into that show. Basically, I think that's actually where they're going. Since this was all Dave Filoni's baby, I think that's their Mandalorian's basically going to turn into like Rebels, the reunion tour, now starring all the cast of Rebels. It kind of seems how a lot of that's going on. I mean, we know Hera's around because she was mentioned in Rogue One when they were at the Rebel base on Yavin 4. They actually call for Captain Syndulla, or Commander, I can't remember what her title was at that point, over the intercom. And then in Episode 9, as much as I want to forget it, the scene at the end when all the ships show up, her ship, the Ghost, is front and center as one of the many vessels that called for when the Resistance called, they came running. And I don't see that Hera would, as much as she had a founding in the Rebel Alliance, she would have been with the Resistance the entire time and not needed to be called and asked to show up randomly out of the blue. I just hope they just completely chunk all the three of those movies. It's just so bad. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it. And last but not least, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. There's all of 2 episodes out. I like it. I mean, it's no WandaVision. Clearly, it doesn't have that air of like, what in the flying fuck is going on? I'm not, again, no spoilers. If I do a spoiler stuff, I'll save that for the end. But it's definitely more. It feels a lot more like it's going to be I don't know how many episodes, 8 or 9 episode long version of a Marvel movie. It's got its high points, it's got its low points, and I got to give it to them. I thought they did great in WandaVision with the special effects and the stuff they pull off in this one. Every now and then you could see a little bit of like TV quality versus the movie quality, but do keep in mind, movie quality also had giant floating Bruce Banner head in the Hulkbuster suit. So, they have their ups and downs even in the movies. But stuff for something like the Falcon, Bucky's arm, that's as realistic as that look. I think if I've seen the production photos, he's wearing a green sleeve, so that's all CGI. I've actually watched the WandaVision making of, and for the most part, like Vision's head, it's they have him in the dot stuff, and it's CGI'd. For a TV show, they CGI'd a face, which is one of the most difficult things to do. If you don't believe me, look at Luke Skywalker's face in the end of Mandalorian. It was good, but it wasn't real life. Of which we need to get Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier. Not Bucky Barnes, Sebastian Stan. I always want to call him Sebastian Shaw, but he is the leader of the Hellfire Club in the X-Men in the comics, and not actually an actor in movies and TVs. So, but there's a lot of things where he looks so much like Luke Skywalker. If you throw the right hairdo and wig on him, he's got that chiseled jaw. And thankfully, thanks to Sib, we found out he is not a hairy individual. He is right up her alley, and I'm okay with this because as a also non-harried and chisel-jawed, clearly, individual, it's a very big compliment for me because clearly we look. I know a lot of you are thinking it. I didn't know Sebastian Stan did a podcast, and frankly, I know. The resemblance is uncanny between me and him, as are the physique, of which I don't want to cheapen the show by showing below about my collarbone here, right here. See this this up, this is all I really want people to see, because if he's there, it's objectification, and frankly, I'm not into that, and I don't want people objectifying my body. So that's why I have the camera set the way it is, and I always wear a shirt. It's not to hide the giant man breasts. It's to hide the pectoral muscles and the six-pack abs. That's really what I'm going for here. Anybody buying this at all? No? Okay, well, moving on then. So, in movie news, on things I haven't seen, that's pretty much it, other than Final Fantasy XIV still. I've been playing through the main story quest, which, now thinking of that, I should probably stream that just because it's something to stream, and the quest line is really good. I've just felt the need to really want to play through it. I'm leveling up another character, all that stuff, doing the class jobs, whatever. It's definitely a grind, even though they took out a lot of the grindy stuff. There's definitely grinds at time. Thankfully, I don't have to do all the side quests to level up at this point, so I can just do the main story quest, and that is flying by, which is fantastic. So, wait. Movies. Yes, okay, so movies. Speaking of movies that I am glad to, and I think, who was that posted this? I saw it, but I'll give Eric his credit for it, because, why not? It's... As the official Canadian ambassador to the podcast, he is, of course, given first rights to all of that. And what is the picture? What is this? I don't know what his picture of is on Discord, but it's got big boobs and face, and I approve. I don't know what it is, but well done, Ericus. Well done. 2 nipples up. So, anyway, Ghost of Tsushima is going to be a movie. And that's awesome, because it deserves it. It deserves to be made into a movie in the style of the samurai movies that it took. That's the thing where inspiration. I got good words, the best words, fantastic words. Thank you. It was inspired by the Akira Kurosawa. Jesus, Akira Kurosawa. I need to slow down when I talk. I'm not fucking, I don't know if anyone's ever listened to Ben Shapiro talk, but Jesus Christ, that man's like the Micro Machine guy on meth. Slow down. It's okay. People might understand you better if you actually took to find time to make 2 syllables and put them together. Anyway, I don't need to talk like that, but it is my natural speed, mostly because of the constant use of speed. So anyway, Ghost of Tsushima is going to be done. It's being adapted to a movie by the John Wick director, Chad Stahelski. Why can't everybody in Hollywood and in gaming just have, the last name Smith for everything? I don't even care if it's their last name. Just tell me that's what it is so I can stop butchering people's name. For example, the head of PlayStation Productions, Assad. I can do Assad. I have a couple of Assads on my mail route, so I got Assad. Kazabash. Assad Kazabash, who is the head of the PlayStation Productions, says, "We're excited to be partnering with Chad and 8711 Entertainment to bring their vision of Jin's story to the big screen. We love working with creative partners like Chad who have passion for our games, ensuring we can create rich adaptations that will excite our fans and new audiences." So that's going to happen. I'm all for this, like I said. Let's see here. It says the 6.5 million copies of Ghost of Tsushima has been sold since July, and it did make it, I think, one of their fastest selling games ever like that, in that genre of stuff-ish things. I don't know how to say it. Of Sony's games, it was their fastest, even over, which is crazy, because you got to put Spider-Man in there. And Spider-Man, I don't know if you're aware of this, Spider-Man is not unpopular. He seems to be fairly well-liked by the children's and adults alike. That is, I know, it's a surprise to many of you, but Spider-Man is still as popular as he was when you were wearing him on your underwear right around your butthole. Yeah. That's a really weird way to celebrate something you like, by wearing it around your junk, but, you do you. I'm not here to judge. I think I had The Flash, so It's okay because that underwear helped me run faster. It is a proven fact that is actually the way it went. So the BAFTA Game Awards of 2021 happened, and I'm just gonna come out and say I was a complete moron. I was like, wow. I'd actually, for the show, I was actually hoping to watch this, and then it was like, oh, it airs at 2 o'clock in the afternoon my time. I'm like, well, that's a dumb time. Why would you do something like that? It's because the B in BAFTA is, I think it stands for British. It's funny because they use the abbreviation in this whole article, but they never actually say what it actually is. Let's see here. BAFTA. I had this done. Home of the British Academy of Film and Television Arts. So, British Academy of Film and Television Arts, which, cool that they're doing games and stuff like that. But, yeah, so I didn't watch it live. Also, there's almost no point in watching award shows live because you can always count on articles just telling you and giving you a list, which is what I'm just going to do for you. Pretty much from the gaming awards, I'm not going to dwell on this one like I did the other one. It's all a lot of the same stuff. I think the big difference here is they actually had Hades as best game, which, well deserved. I'm not gonna even go against that. Hades is a fantastic game. Wow, look at this. They have a game category just for British games. Well, how egocentric can you get? I cannot imagine a country that would only celebrate things created in itself. That is insane. Anyway, so hold on. I gotta log into my American Microsoft account and look at my American Apple phone. And also after this, I have to go and get on the cotton gin. But still, how selfish. Anyway, best animation, Last of Us Part 2, artistic achievement, Hades, yes, absolutely. Audio achievement, Ghost of Tsushima, I guess, fine. I think Ghost of Tsushima, I think it won more in the other version. Carrion was a debut game, I guess because the game came out of nowhere, and it debuted, sure, whatever. Did actually play that, wait, Carrion, yeah. It was a good game. I didn't play it long, but I don't do side-scrolling games for very long. I think my friend Pedro was the only one I actually finished from start to finish recently that was side-scrolling, kind of like that. It's not that I have anything against them. My self-appointed ADHD kicks in, and I'm like, I wonder if I played this instead, and then I never go back to it. Evolving games. It's evolving. They'll kill us before you know it. Sea of Thieves is taking over the world. Sure. I know I tried Sea of Thieves. I might have to give it a shot again. I did not enjoy it when it launched. It was not good. But then again, most of these games of service lately kind of trending that they aren't ever good at launch. They're always bad. It seems like. It's just how they seem. They're not even trying. Family game, Sackboy: A Big Adventure. Oh, the British game, by the way, was Sackboy: A Big Adventure. There's lots of British games, actually. I just don't know. I don't know what. I could look up the others, but I don't really care that much. Game Beyond Entertainment, which is a weird-ass category, but that was Animal Crossing New Horizons, Game Design Hades, Multiplayer Game Animal Cross New Horizons, Music Miles Morales, Narrative Hades. Congratulations to Laura Bailey, who is Abby in Last of Us Part 2. I like her, so well-earned. She does, the voice of a lot of characters, including, I think it was it Kid Trunks Kid Trunks. So I'm all for her because that. And supporting performer and role was Logan Cunningham as both Hades, Achilles, Poseidon, Asterius, Charon, and the storyteller, all in Hades. And the game of the year voted by the public actually was Last of Us Part 2, which I think actually that game of the year wise was the same in both. So hey, congratulations to all those involved. That's just how it goes. You can always tell when I'm clicking a link for the next story because I just sort of pause and brain fart and talk like William Shatner. One word at a time. who, by the way, turned 90, completely unrelated. He's 90 years old. William Shatner is 90 years old. William Shatner. 90 years old. God, I'm not the...
I live my life a quarter mile at a time.
I feel old now, just because was so youngish when I was growing up. I mean, I'm 41, so he's 40 or 39 years older than me. Yeah, give or take. Let's just carry the 1. 49 years older than me? I don't know. Yeah, 49. We'll go with that. Because you can tell math is my strong suit. Wow, I'm old. Yeah. And sadly, he actually outlived my grandparents. They were younger than he was. And they still would be. Yeah. Wow. Good for him. I know I've heard he's kind of a dick, but, I don't want anyone to pass away. It sucks. It's not fun. Especially for the ones doing it. It's not a good time. So, moving on to something. I think for the first time in history, I was disappointed about a mobile game being canceled. I know, I was shocked too, but I actually have been looking forward to this apparently now for 6 years. I didn't realize it had gone that long. I knew that in one way, shape, or form, but I was starting to figure it was kind of on the outs, and that is the Final Fantasy XI mobile reboot, canceled after 6 years from the announcement. It was supposed to be being done by, co-developed Square Enix, who obviously Final Fantasy XI, they're obviously going to be involved, and Nexon. They were supposed to bring the mobile version to games, basically kind of clean it up, make it so you could still play online, but that way the game still lives on. I have a feeling it might have been a lot more difficult than they assumed it would be, especially at a file size of a decade-old plus MMO, even stripped down and brought to mobile. The story and stuff, I've always heard it was good. I tried playing Final Fantasy XI when it came out, and I really wanted to like it. I loved the aesthetic just the way I do in Final Fantasy XIV and the look of it, especially at the time. Well, it's crazy dated now. But the problem with it was aside from being pretty grindy, it was a very group-centric MMO. After level 5, maybe 10, I will be generous and say 10, but I don't even think it was that high. You could not do anything in that game without a group, and it wasn't like you could jump into a duty finder like you can in most games and it will hook you up. You had to have kind of a dedicated group of people to run around with and do stuff with. I've heard since then you can actually do more now because it's time has gone and they've evolved it. But at the time, I'm just not a group in MMOs kind of a guy, so it really didn't work. I do remember that was the first time I was the first MMO game where I was amazed because it went to a cutscene, even though you were still reading it. It went to a cutscene, and it was at least had camera shifts and things like that. It was a legit cutscene. They had some basic animations and whatnot. But it wasn't the, like ESO where it's just the talking torso that does absolutely nothing, which they really need to get over for Elder Scrolls 6. And I wish they would actually try harder in ESO for that as well. So this was it was announced in 2015, and the target window was very recent, actually, because they announced it and they wanted it out in the release window of 2016, a year later. It's 2021, so they missed that target window by a smidge. It was very close. They almost, I don't even know why they didn't even bother releasing it. It was basically no one would have noticed the difference between 2016 and 2021. Yeah. So anyway, it was they were intended to optimize the MMO RPG experience for smartphones, by improving party organization systems, enriching solo play functionality, improving battle functionality, enhancing in-game events and features, according to the initial release. So 2016 came and went, and it wasn't until 2018 that the reboot resurfaced through a series of screenshots posted by Reset Era, which I think it's a website. And they looked good. These for a mobile game, it looks as good as like the flashy. What's that one? Stupid one that everybody. Raid Shadow Legends. They tried to, or Lineage is another online mobile game. They tried to make it look like that, and it looks good, and it would have really been cool. But not so much. So they pulled those screenshots and put them out there. Then we heard basically nothing, and that was that up until now. And the only news is that it's not going to come. So all right. So here, put on your conspiracy theory hat. Or is it fortune teller? Yeah, fortune. My conspiracy theory is that this was a lot more difficult than they... Oops, almost spilled my coffee. A lot more difficult than they thought, and part of that is because... what was that stupid thing that was integrated into Final Fantasy XI? It was... Final Fantasy XI... It was the... Play Online. Thank you, Internet, for telling me. Play Online was... what you would log into to get to Final Fantasy XI, and that thing was heavily integrated into that game, so much to the point where even now it's still part of that. They've made statements that they can't separate the two, that one is basically in part of the other. So I think that they were probably trying to do that, probably ended up being a lot more difficult than they initially thought. And also, I mean, just think of the at this point, the technological jump in telephones. Hey, everybody, I'm going to talk to you on my mobile telephone. In smartphones and things like that. It's a 6-year difference in tech. That's massive. So whatever they were developing for back then is probably completely inconsequential at this point, and they almost would have to start over, is my conspiracy theory guess. To my prediction, this still isn't dead. It might be with Nexon. I do believe. I mean, they've made that. If they wouldn't say that Nexon's out and they've canceled the project with them if it wasn't out and canceled, because they benefit nothing by actually coming clean. But the fact that this is Final Fantasy XI, this is part of their numbered series of Final Fantasy. That's their mainstay. That's the big one. That's like Dragon Quest, 1 through 11. If one of them is an MMO actually, which would have been awesome to have here in the States. By the way, I would have loved to have played that, but I don't think it's a numbered version of that. I can't remember. What was that? Was it Dragon Warrior MMO? What was that called? I think it's just called, it's Dragon Warrior 10. So, yeah, like how Dragon Warrior 10 is. God, really, it does piss me off. I would have loved to have played that game. And it's been out for almost 10 years now, and we still don't have it in the States. It sucks. Well, I think it is now, maybe, but it's not easy to do. And anyway, I won't get into that. But so... The fact of the matter is, it's a mainline Final Fantasy game, and an MMO doesn't last forever. One of these days, those servers are going to shut down. It's gonna hit a point of being unprofitable, and they won't be able to keep going with servers, maintenance, blah blah blah. I mean, as it is, they barely update the game ever, anyway. So I have a feeling they're still going to do this, whether it comes out on mobile or they turn it into some sort of a crazy single-player game. I don't know, but they're going to do something, because there's no way Square Enix lets a mainline Final Fantasy just fall to the wayside and be unplayable for all of time after it closes its servers down. I just don't see that happening at all. No. Mm-mm. So, the first mobile game I've ever been disappointed to hear was canceled. I was actually really looking forward to playing that on my phone, even if I had to get a controller and stuff, because as tiny as my little girly hands are, they still cramp up doing stuff on my phone for long periods of time. Even the stupid Harry Potter gem game I've been playing lately for 15 hours so far. Thanks for keeping track of that, by the way, phone. Moving on here, this one was put up by Strophe friend of the show, former host, was apparently they've got the 2021 roadmap for Fallout 76. I've tried to get back into this. I still can't get it. I think part of the reason is because I'm so overburdened. I don't even know what to not hold on to at this point, so it's really hard to try to get back into this. I logged in, I played around with it for like 20 minutes one day, and still was overburdened and unable to do anything. So I logged out and haven't done anything with it since. But it's for as dog pile shit of a game as it is. It's still actually fairly fun to a lot of people. I know he still plays it. I think he actually finally has internet for the first time since 1924 is how long he's been without internet. And so he's been playing that. But they did their roadmap. They have, let's see here. Spring is going to be a thing called Locked and Loaded. Summer will be Steel Rain. I'm not sure what's going to be in that one. Probably nobody does. Fall worlds are changing, and for winter, Tales from the Stars, which will probably bring aliens into it by the look of it. Let's see if I can. Let's see. So the first one that's here in spring coming up is not that big a deal. It's more camp slots, special loadouts, which is the skills and stuff, and daily ops expansion, which a couple ops missions and things like that. Summer they're doing legendary crafting, legendary power armor. Brotherhood of Steel storyline. There'll be new quests, new NPCs, locations. I mean, the locations is kind of quotes because if they don't update the map beyond what it initially was, eventually they're gonna have to run out of room, right? I think so. Anyway, fall worlds are changing. Daily ops expansion 2. That's pretty much all there is for that. And then in winter, Tales from the Stars. Stars have aligned in the wasteland. Marvel at the discovery of new legends and the reappearance of Appalachian myth. So Invaders from Beyond. It's public challenge, daily ops, surprises, seasonal event, the ritual, and legendary stuff. So cool. I'm glad they're still supporting it and didn't completely drop it by the wayside like I don't know, Anthem. And wow, I'm already 40 minutes into this. I need to speed this up. So anyway, lots of Microsoft news. They are on a kind of a news binge. So Xbox Live, after all this time, is being rebranded as the Xbox Network, which it seems weird that they've, it's like a 19-year-old like thing. They have the name cred for Xbox Live, but Xbox Network is what it's going to be called. And I actually heard, I was listening to somebody, I think it was an IGN Scoops podcast, and one of them made a very good point that probably the big reason is because the word live no longer has the same connotation it would have 19 years ago, or even 5 years ago, really. When you hear something like Xbox Live, it sounds almost like it's a streaming service, which, for people up and coming, most people aren't going to get confused by that. But at the same time, it does sound like a streaming service when you call it Xbox Live. And, of course, as we know, Xbox is fantastic at live streaming services. That's why we are brought to you by Mixer. That's right, Mixer. The thing that no longer exists after less than a year. That didn't work out well. But, so they're going to rebrand that. The other cool bit that is going to be part of this is the update to, quote, announce, they still call it Xbox Live to Xbox Network, is what they're going to be doing. Where did I put that? With like free-to-play games and stuff on Xbox Network, that you're no longer going to need Xbox Live Gold, which is the paid monthly subscription, which for those of you who remember back in the day, you had to actually have that even to stream Netflix through your Xbox back when all that started. Yeah, you had to have a stream. You had to pay for a service to be able to stream the other service that you were paying for. People loved that. That was very popular. So, but now Microsoft is now planning to drop the subscription requirement for the free-to-play games on the Xbox Network in the coming months. It's not happened yet, so don't go, oh, yay, I can cancel my gold membership. Don't do that yet. You still can't do it. So the games like Fortnite, was it Destiny 2, Minecraft, all that stuff of theirs. I think that they're I don't know if Minecraft free to play. Yeah, it might be if you have Xbox Game Pass. Probably is. I don't know. I don't play the game. But so all those types of games and things like that are going to be able to be played free, which without having to pay for gold. And now, given a lot of people, it's not that big of a deal. But for some people, especially for kids and stuff like that, that's actually a big deal because you'll be able to also do party chat and party, finder stuff. All that will be no longer associated with a gold or Xbox Ultimate Game Pass account thing, which is good. Microsoft has been saying for years now that they want to bring gaming to the forefront for all of their products and things like that, and they're doing a very good job. We started with the cross-platform, and they dragging PlayStation kicking and screaming into into that. But let's see here, make sure I got everything. But yeah, that's not a bad thing. So let's see here. Yeah, that's. Oh, also Apex Legends is another one. So you could play Apex Legends and things like that free and not have to actually have the monthly service to connect to them, which is not a bad deal at all, I would say. In other Microsoft news, because, why not? Let's just stick with Big Billy Gates here. This one, the amount actually surprises me, given was it $7.5 billion they just spent for Bethesda? Bethesda. We know what Bethesda is. Fallout, Skyrim, other stuff, Doom now, all sorts of crazy games and things like that. $7.5 billion, which is why Microsoft being allegedly in purchase talks with Discord, the thing that I'm always pointing you to at twitch.tv/crashdwellloading. Click on that About button and join our Discord, soon to be owned by Microsoft, more than likely. They're wanting it for $10 billion with a B. 2.5, for those of you also amazing at math like I am, $2.5 billion more than what they bought Bethesda for. I am amazed at how much that Discord is apparently worth for just being like this. Discord only does Discord. I know they've dipped their hand into trying to be like, great value brand Steam. It's fine. I don't bother with it. I don't need, it's kind of like Epic Games Store. I don't disparage Epic Games Store like a lot of people do. I don't care as long as if they're the ones with an exclusive game that I need to use that to play the game I want to play, I'm gonna do that. I'm not that hypocritical. However, if the exact same game is also on Steam, I'm using Steam first just to keep it all in one ecosystem. That's just, that's kind of how people do things. So they're in talks to get this, and it kind of makes sense, especially with what I had just said about Microsoft trying to be in for games, because they're taking a beating when it comes to rival companies, the communities and things that they can build. Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple all have these bigger platforms underneath them. Google has YouTube, which is I need to explain that. Amazon bought Twitch, which is dominating streaming, because Mixer. Sorry, got Mixer stuck in my throat. Facebook has Instagram and WhatsApp, although I don't ever hear anybody talking about WhatsApp anymore. And Apple has, of course, the Apple Store, which Epic Games seems to have a small problem with. The reason for a lot of this is at least the assumption, and people are getting mad at Microsoft for this, but from what the rumors and everything I understand is that Discord made the offer to Microsoft, not the other way around. So Discord opened the negotiations to have Microsoft buy it out. I don't know what it would mean, honestly, for Discord's ability. Hopefully, it would stay very similar. I know no matter if it does happen, they're obviously going to integrate Discord probably more heavily with Windows and then also with the Xbox gaming consoles itself. They will probably use it as the backbone for all of their communications and things like that and ease of use. I have a feeling. And Discord, it started out as a gaming platform, and it's dominated because it was made by gamers for gamers, but it's moved well beyond just gaming. People knitting clubs, like old lady knitting clubs, use Discord. With the pandemic, people used there's Discords for people's work where they can, keep everything in a place and everyone can talk and chat and keep straight with what's going on. The voice options, even when we did our show, we used Discord. I know IGN's podcasts, they're all from home, and some they're not even in the same state anymore. They're using Discord, which I could give them some pointers on how to make them stop sounding absolutely like garbage all the time. Mic discipline, guys. Keep the microphone close, and also up the bit rate on that stuff. You'll sound less like you're in a giant phone booth or Coliseum, as with some of them, and maybe not cut out so much. Quality. Let's go for quality. If I manage to do it with my stupid little podcast, I think somebody with a multi-million-dollar company can give it a shot. So, Discord, one of the other reasons here, too, is apparently, and this is crazy, Discord has over 140 million monthly active users, which is crazy. 140 million active users a month. That's a lot. And it says here includes top YouTube users, creators, gamers, games make their own communities that are heavily moderated. What was the first one I really looked at? And it was crazy, the things they did with Discord. Genshin Impact has their own Discord server run by the company that does the game. And it's crazy heavily moderated. They got, tens or hundreds of thousands of people on there. And they've got it set up for, the bots and stuff like that. It's very well done, and they, it's a very user friendly thing if you spend the time to actually learn how to do it. So what would it mean? I don't know. I hope they don't ruin it like they did with, they've bought Skype. Microsoft owns Skype. Remember that? Of course you don't. You've been using Discord for the last several years. In our online games, Jazz, I dragged her kicking and screaming. I kept trying to, hey, Jazz, you should set up a Discord for all your roleplay stuff. Set up a Discord. Forums are fine. Well, the forums were falling by the wayside. She now has several Discord servers, and she's actually getting a lot closer to the stuff that she wanted with her roleplay communities, so to speak. And it's working much better than it ever did with forums. Discord is just easier to use and easier to keep up with. It's just a better system. And that's why Microsoft is eyeballing it. It's just, I hope they don't ruin it. I know people are like, well, there goes our private information. Did you just type that into your Microsoft-powered computer or your Windows, that you signed up for, and your Xbox account? You're worried about your privacy from the company that probably already has your information in 14 different ways from the various things that they do. Interesting. Yeah. All right. So lastly here, let's go. I don't even know what this one. It is aggravating. So 6 Days of Fallujah is just this game I'm actually kind of looking forward to. They released a 6-minute gameplay trailer showing, explaining how things work, that it's based on realism and things like that, and they're trying not to make a Call of Duty or cheapen the experiences and whatnot. And that the cities and even the houses that you'll go into are all going to be procedurally generated. So just like as the trailer says, when the soldiers go in, you never know from one time to the other what the layout of the house is, because that was the scariest part for the soldiers, and where things are hiding. Now, this is based off a real-world war, just like when you see stuff that's based around World War II and World War I, and given Nobody seems to have a problem with that. Probably because, everyone can pretty much agree that Nazis are bad. And they are. But not all Germans were Nazis. And nobody ever bothers with that anymore. Yeah, a lot of them were just as, they were suppressed and victimized by their own government as well. It happens, which is why you have people that were hiding Jews and things like that. Because there were good people, even though their government had gone bad. Weird. No correlation to real life anyway. So here's the thing I've got a problem with, is now apparently I could understand in 2009 it was probably a bit more, it was probably too close, but it is 2021. We're way past the Second Battle of Fallujah, and the stories are the stories. These things happened. You may not like it. You may not agree with why we were there. I don't really like any of the wars. I'd be perfectly happy stop being the police of the world. When somebody hits us, we hit them hard and we leave. We get back at the people that did it. You don't minimize any civilian casualties, because one civilian casualty is one too many. But at the same time, you can't let people blow your giant towers out of the sky. Just gonna put that out there. I don't know. Apparently that didn't used to be controversial, but now it is. But the part where we would go in and do this, and then we would sit around and try to nation build, that's not how that stuff should be done. No, because for one, the people don't want you there either. They have their own ways and of doing things, and you can't change a multiple 1,000-year-old society by the barrel of a gun. And no matter how much you work with them, it's not going to happen. So it's an ugly part of the world, but these are historical stories that they're aiming to recreate. And apparently, going off of the chat, I am one of the very few people that thinks video games should be utilized to retell historical moments and stories, because honestly, they say it's controversial. I think it's just a handful of really loud people standing on a tall soapbox and making sure everybody knows that it's supposed to be, you're supposed to be offended by all of this. For example, the IGN headline, which, by the way, they were more than happy to produce the video when this was first re-announced. They were loved to get the ad revenue, loved getting the clicks, loved getting the stories. So fast forward to about a week later, 6 days in Fallujah's first gameplay trailer reinforced many of its harshest criticisms. A 6-minute first look at gameplay focuses almost entirely on the U.S. military's perspective, while diminishing the reality of the everyday Iraqis who called Fallujah home. Yeah, that's how storytelling typically works. And is it cool? No, but they actually did interview 26 Iraqis, which, funny enough, when they show them in the trailer, their faces are covered and their voices are modulated so that they won't be found out who they are and possibly face, I would say, harsh retribution by other people in their country. Because Iraq, I don't know if you know this, is not the soft, squishy place that America and Europe, most European countries are. They have some pretty nasty blowback from speaking out against things. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of people being, thrown off of a 4-story building for being gay, or buried up to your neck because somebody raped you and then they throw stones at your head. The woman, by the way, not the man, because you were unfaithful, because you were raped. Not all societies are equal. Not everybody in that society is bad. There's lots of great people. But there are bad things that happen. You don't believe me? Look at Burma. Yeah. Happened in America history, happened in French history. Remember guillotines? The world history is not a clean slate. It's not pretty. It's not nice. There are shining moments, but for the most part, history is really ugly. And perhaps if people understood that better, they'd be a lot less offended by really stupid things like, oh, I don't know, a video game trying to tell that story. And given, it could be, I'm running on the assumption that I'm taking the developers at their word, that they're going to be respectful as they can. They're going to tell the stories, and it's going to, they're doing what they say they're doing. Now, if the game comes out and it turns out it is completely fabricated and all the stuff that they promised is wrong, then yeah, I'll be harsh critic as anybody else about it. For now, though, I can only base off what they say and 2 trailers. The first trailer they did, and now the 6-minute gameplay trailer, which it looks exactly like Call of Duty. No, it doesn't. Fighting is a lot slower. You actually have command. You're supposed to flank the enemies and things like that. But anyway, we'll go. So this article here, they said, among the concerns are the game's pitch and marketing thus far focuses heavily on U.S. forces who invaded Fallujah and was either minimized or often even excluded of stories from Iraqi citizens. Okay, we'll see. You don't know that yet. You don't know. It's just what it seems like. You can't say that that's actually how that's happened when that's not it even out yet. You're going off of a 6-minute trailer. And if we judged everything by the trailers, the Season 8 of Game of Thrones was going to be awesome. That didn't work out so well. So a game like 6 Days of Fallujah runs the risk of contributing to the ongoing culture of generalization, racism, dehumanizing portrait of Arabs, Muslims, and Middle Eastern cultures across all entertainment, especially in FPS games. So keep in mind, IGN has multiple articles how video games don't cause violence or hatred because they don't influence people that way. And yet, this game is going to cause violence and racism and hatred. But I don't say violence, but what do you get when you have racism? You think it's going to create racism against Muslims and Arabs, and it dehumanizes them. Violence, perhaps? People acting out against the thing that they think is dangerous? And if you've read an X-Men comic or watched a movie, people hate what they fear. And however, gonna stick with the facts and the scientific consensus that video games don't cause violence and hatred. That it's a video game and people are smart enough to tell the difference. Kind of like watching old, I saw a comment. Somebody brought up the old, it was a sniper movie where it actually showed the side of I think it was the Nazi sniper and the American sniper. And they were both, head snipers at the time, and they were sent to kill one another. And they showed him in a light that made both of them actually sympathetic. It didn't end well for one of them. Won't spoil which one. I forget what the movie was called now. But they told that story from both perspectives. And yes, the one guy was a Nazi and he was bad. But at the same time, he was still human, and they managed to humanize him. Now, that's fine. You can do that. It's called storytelling. Now, do I still, because they humanized the guy in this movie, do I think Nazis are suddenly good? No. That is not how that works. That was a story, it was based on true life events. But you know what? Supposedly so is this game. Publisher Victura has numerous verifiable past ties with U.S. military, making it difficult to trust that 6 Days in Fallujah is not at best unintentional or even at worst intentional U.S. military propaganda. This is conjecture. You have absolutely no proof. Just because they may have worked with them in the past does not mean that that's intentional or unintentional. For one, they didn't really start. This game was started by an ex-Bungie dev back in 2009 who had no ties with the military and stuff like that, so far as I know. If it was, I'm sure that would have been heavily reported at the time, but it wasn't, at least not that I remember. And since I've been looking extensively into the story, still don't. And lastly here, this is then among their concerns, 6 Days in Fallujah has had minimal and often contradictory messaging as to how it will address the controversial political context around the Second Battle of Fallujah, including the documented, if denied, war crimes allegedly committed by U.S. forces. Do I believe war crimes happened in the battles in Iraq? Yeah. Unfortunately, there's bad people in everything. There's bad people at your job. There's people that spit in your food at McDonald's. There's people, those same people then have military careers and do bad things in other countries because they think they can get away from it. It has happened in every war from every country throughout history. Does that make it okay? No, it's not. Of course not. You'd have to be a complete and utter moron to think that it was. Do you know that that's exactly what they've done? Nope. You know why? Because you only have a 6-minute trailer and you've not played the game yet. So, and what is making a game? If war crimes exist, why do they constantly make articles about Call of Duty, which is a game based around war, or Battlefront? Wait. Battlefield, not Battlefront. We do know that there were many war crimes committed by the Empire. The slight exploding of Alderaan. But Battlefield, however, based on World War I and II, not Battlefront. God, I hate that they both sound so much the same. So we're not going to go into the war crimes of the Empire. They are well documented and have been had many documentaries made on them. See the Rebels, especially those of the Mandalorians. They took a especially bad hit. But World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, Korean War, the war at the Island of Spice, which actually was a very short war, but still bad things happened there. Not necessarily by the soldiers, I don't remember, but it was still ugly. War crimes happen in war. There's a reason it's called war crimes. It sucks, and it's not okay. But at the same time, you can't, just because a thing exists doesn't mean you can't then tell the stories and stuff around it. For some reason, it's okay for all the other first-person shooters and Spec Ops: The Line, things like that, which I think in Spec Ops: The Line you do, and you actually are the war criminal in that, if I remember that right. That's okay. That's fine. Sure, you can actually play it, or was it with the Call of Duty where you went through as the terrorist, I think it was the Russian terrorists, and mow down people at the airport. That one's okay. It was a little controversial at the time, but no, that it stayed in the game. Nobody cared. There weren't articles on this, not on like that, and most of them were like, "Oh, it's a video game. Just move on." And if they have a skip feature, you don't actually have to play it if it makes you uncomfortable. I played through it. It was fine. It sucked, and it made you feel icky. Well, that was kind of the point. So that's their big problems, and apparently they think that the 6-minute trailer revealed this. I'll just go over some of the things. You turn on a game, and you see some terrorists, and you start shooting at them. So apparently, now in this it happened. Soldiers were going through the town, and people would open fire on them, and of course they would return fire. There were insurgents in the town, and were some of those people maybe citizens? Perhaps. I'm sure that they were, but when someone opens fire, that's kind of what happens. You get fired back on. If I can guarantee you, if someone was invading America, we would do they would have the exact same expectation. It's not. I don't see where this is that complicated. Maybe I am just oversimplifying it, but I'm also going again off of what they say and the fact that no one has actually played the game yet. And I'm picking on this one here specifically because it is the latest in outrage by the media, gaming media specifically. They are hypocritical on everything that they do. So I want to real quick here I want to let's just go over the hypocrisy of this, because IGN has this great feature where if you click on the game, it will just bring up everything that they have written about this game. So you click on 6 Days in Fallujah, and it goes all the way back to April 6th, 2009. 6 Days in Fallujah announced. April 13th, 6 Days in Fallujah first look. So, a week or so later. April 27th, Konami drops 6 Days in Fallujah. Editorial, the case for 6 Days in Fallujah. Now, this is April 28th, 2009. Now, they just had, they have this one that I was just reading at you about why it confirms in all their harshest criticisms. Yet, in 2009, here's the case for 6 Days in Fallujah. They actually made a case why it should be released. Interesting. So, 28, that's just a sum. April 30th, 2009, the fall of Fallujah. Basically why it stopped happening. May 1st, it was included in a brief history of video game controversy. And this basically... it says the brief history of the subline is 6 Days in Fallujah is the latest in a string of games to provoke the ire of game fans and the general public. And they talk about the outcry, blah, blah, blah. Okay, see, like, I don't even know what there's. They have, for some reason, scrolling through the article, they have a chick with a giant chest, and I have no idea what that has to do with what they were talking about. So let's see. I got to go back down. Okay, so Atomic Games to close it. And then it says May. So you skip ahead of about a year, and it's 2009 in June. They said they're still seeking a publisher. August 6th, 2009, they cut staff. These are all article headlines. I'm just scrolling up from there. Then March 2nd, 2010 says 6 Days of Fallujah is still coming out. It kind of goes off. Light Sport, Game in Danger. That's 2011 of March. And then you have this gem, which comes out on July 17th, 2012. So now 3 years out from when it was first done and then canceled. I actually have two articles. One on the 17th of July and the 18th of July, 2012. One is Political Correctness, a Different View. The first one was Opinion, the problem with political correctness in video games. And basically, it talks about how political correctness you shouldn't be politically correct games because it squashes the creative process, which is actually something I agree with. If a game is politically incorrect, just as with speech, you may not like it. You don't have to like it. There's a lot of speech I don't like. But at the same time, the person has the right to say it, at least in this country, and less as things go on. But here, there's a quote from one of the developers, without freedom of thought, or is it? Oh, no, it's actually Benjamin Franklin, the developer of the country. So we'll go with that. Without freedom of thought, there can be no such thing as wisdom, and no such thing as public liberty without freedom of speech. That is correct. So there we have one that, and then the very next day, IGN editor offers a reposit to yesterday's editorial. There was one other that was like, yeah, no, people, that one attracted nearly 2,000 comments the day before going for it. Let's see what this one had. 0, which is weird. That seems to be that they maybe have either nobody gave a crap about the rebuttal or that they deleted everything, which, by the way, I was in arguments yesterday about this, and IGN was happy to delete all posts that contradicted the initial premise of the thing. So you jump forward, so it goes all the way from 2012, that political correctness is a problem in games. Jump forward to February 11th, where they did the announcement trailer. And by the way, of 2021. So they jumped nearly 9 years. 9 years. 9 years without bringing this up. And there have since then been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 articles on this game since it was re-announced on the 11th of February. 13. Now, I could go back through all these other ones here, and I don't think I would get 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nope. 9. And then the two political crises, 10, 11. So, yeah, you have 11. So, the entire decade before that, you had 11. Since the 11th of February, they've had 13. You think they're not really happy to keep all that ad revenue? No, because you think they're really that upset. They actually debuted this. They were happy. They were more than happy to take, like the first come, first serve kind of thing. Like, hey, here's the announcement trailer. We've got it. Then they had, had it resurrected. Basically, I just want to show the hypocrisy of this, because they're gonna. I can guarantee you this. The article was 6 Days of Fallujah is complicated and painful for those connected to the real life events. That one has over 1,300 comments in their comment section, according to their website here. The one that they did from yesterday is only at 552, but that's also because they deleted several of them. I watched that happen in real time. Why? Mine were several of them. I got, even got into it with Tina Amini, who is an IGN employee there. She's on GameScoop. I actually like her. She's a nice person. At least she seems like it. But at the same time, they were constantly on the defense on this. And anybody that didn't agree with their narrative or go along with the premise, it seemed like that stuff got deleted. I made one offhanded comment about how, that one point they tell people that violence in video games doesn't exist, and that this one it's like violence in video games is gonna make people violent. Well, someone clearly didn't read the article. Yeah, actually, unfortunately, I did. I just didn't agree with it, and there's a difference between not agreeing with it, also, and making a snarky comment, which is mostly what that was. I don't know if you're aware of this. I like snarky comments. It is something I enjoy, and I am fairly okay at. So, what I'm getting at here is a lot of the quote-unquote controversy, like with most things these days, is almost entirely fabricated. And it's done because if it bleeds, it leads works in gaming journalism just as it works in actual journalism. If it's controversial and gets clicks, now these days it's not so much leading, but clicks. If it gets interactions, I've seen them post the same stories multiple times on their Facebook feed. Can't tell you how many times they've reposted it. And I know that because I keep seeing people saying how many times you're going to repost that. Yeah. And this one, I thought this was especially funny. The team spoke to over 100 Marines and soldiers for 6 days in Fallujah, while 26 Iraqis, 23 of whom were from Fallujah, were interviewed, some of them as long ago as 2008. So, what? Who gives a shit when they did the interviews? They did the interviews. The stories and what the people experienced didn't change in the 12 years since they were interviewed. It's still the same story. It doesn't. If you listen to a recording of somebody from World War II today, you're not like, well, son of a bitch, that hasn't. It's been 70 years since they recorded that. How dare they? They need to get an updated version of those accounts. That's not how. It's not how interviews and recording history works, dumbass. It's history, and you record their views for posterity. Also, not to be confused with posterior, which is what most of this is. It's complete and utter ass. And without here would be my challenge. I mean, no one's listening to this podcast or my. I'm not really outraged. I'm just more annoyed at the constant hypocrisy by this, especially over a video game, which everybody is constantly saying it doesn't cause violence, but for some reason this one might, or hatred against Muslims. Nah, if somebody hates Muslims because of what some Muslims do, you're a moron. I'll just go out and say that. How's that? Because 9/11 happened, if you hate all Muslims, you're an idiot. There's radicals. Radicals do radical things. If you hate all conservatives because of something one radical conservative did, you're an idiot. If you hate all Democrats because one Democrat did something radical and tried to remember the baseball shooting of the Republicans in the field that got almost no coverage. Almost 30 people he tried to kill 30 people. Thank God a fence was locked and he wasn't able to get in there. You don't hate all Democrats and liberals because of one moron with a gun. You don't hate all of any group of people. I don't hate all Canadians just because Ericus is constantly talking about syrup and bagged milk. He's fine. I mean, I dislike him for a variety of reasons, most of which is that he plays a lizard Argonian character in ESO, and I don't trust those people. Just kidding, Ericus. I love you, brother. But I'm not... I don't want to... I'm not filled with rage and outrage. It's just the hypocrisy of it is maddening. And I would, as I was saying, I would challenge them. So if they're so offended by this game and so they want to actually lead by example, stop taking turn off all ad revenue on any of these articles. In fact, if you really, I actually think all this quote unquote controversy is only going to make the game more popular. They're actually playing directly into the hands of what I think was probably one of the initial reasons that it was being done, that they knew it would sell. Now, they do say things like that the directors are wanting to make a playable documentary. And if that is the case, that's what I'm expecting. If they don't deliver on that, this is going to be a totally different discussion after the game comes out. And trust me, I will do it. If the game turns out that it really does feel like a documentary in the style of shoot, even if they get it close, like the Chris Kyle, American Assassin, the sniper, or Lone Survivor from Operation Red Wing with Marcus Luttrell. Those are based on the true stories, and I've read both their books of their first-hand account. And the movies, they Hollywooded a little bit just to streamline a story, so there's actually a plot in a way, which isn't always necessary, I don't think. Or Saving Private Ryan. If it even does it at that level of a sort of documentary storytelling in a way, I will be okay with that. It doesn't have to be, it still has to be something you play, and that's fine. However, if I go in there and it is all, if they're, I seriously doubt this happen. If they're like, all Muslims are bad and should be killed. Yeah, no, that's not okay. That's not what you said this was. That's not the point. A lot of these soldiers, I keep seeing people, well, if these soldiers weren't happy being breaching these rooms, these houses and going through Fallujah, then why were they there? Do you know how the military works? Are you just that stupid up in your ivory tower that you don't understand when you sign up for something, you don't know where you're going to go? It could have been a desk job. You could be in the hot streets of a desert city in the middle of nowhere, risking your life. One of the stories was of one of the people, and he was worried that he would be killed and die on his son's birthday, but it was back here in the States, and that was his biggest fear and thought. It happens. And are there stories on the other side? Absolutely. And I think that maybe they're fine. If there's somebody that's willing to develop, but absolutely tell that story. Make the Americans, from the Iraqi perspective, make the Americans the bad guys. I'd be willing to give it a shot. I don't know that there's a lot of Iraqi game development companies, to be honest with you. I've not really heard of any. I imagine that's because it's not the greatest place to live, and just surviving is often difficult in a lot of places, mostly because you have insurgents and people threatening your way of life at every turn. It's not a fun place to live. Watch a couple documentaries from Iraqis and their perspective, as I have. It's not always fun. It's not not everybody lives the same charmed and lovely life that someone like myself or pretty much anybody that was probably listening to a podcast like this. If you're listening to a podcast, you're probably doing a lot better than a lot of people in the world. You are the 1%. I don't know if you know that. A lot of people don't live like we do. Yeah, 1% of the world population. That's like the poorest people in America are still considered 1% to a lot of the rest of the world. It's an ugly perspective, and I'm not trying to be political. That's just kind of how actual statistics work out. You have to put that stuff into perspective. So with this, it is what it is. I mean, gaming journalism, we've known for years, is just complete and utter garbage, and they will completely unironically, be happy to take the exclusive in one article and then days later just bash on it because that's what gets clicks, and that's what these games are. It's funny because the official gameplay trailer on their website that happened 5 days ago has only, according to this, 62 comments, which I don't know how many clicks that is, but it seems a good indication comments goes into clicks when they don't delete everything. So they're going to keep doing articles because it's getting them traffic. And that's really what this is all about. It isn't about their moral outrage. They really don't care. I mean, if they do, maybe the individual person that's writing this actually does. I highly doubt it. More than likely, they were assigned it. I don't know. I don't know the internal workings of IGN. And IGN, I'm picking on them because they're the most, the one I can really do easily. Kotaku is another one. They've all been jumping on this bandwagon because moral outrage is easy. It's easy to be outraged when you actually have no morals. And frankly, if you're willing to take the ad revenue for all this stuff, yeah, put your money where your mouth is. I'm just going to put that out there. So, well, that went exactly as I had not hoped it would. But, oh, and then here's another one I forgot. As an example of the hypocrisy. PC. There was just today I saw a headline from PC Gamer how sex foreplay is getting really good in games. And also, there are articles on how sex in video games is misogynistic and should not be put into games anymore. It's literally the exact same thing. So you double dip. They try to get it from both ends, and typically people will start to notice this stuff, which is sad because it's pretty much all journalism, not just gaming. So I'll just jump off my soapbox now. It was also kind of a slow news week, technically, even though I managed to stretch 15 minutes worth of content into nearly an hour and a half show. Hopefully it was worth hearing. I don't know. I just do this off the top of my head for the most part. And that could be good or bad. I don't honestly know. I'll have to tell you when I listen to it, and I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, don't do that again, Ashen. That's going to be taken out of context. And if it is, it is. I'm going to have to just say things the way they actually come, and people will take it. And if they don't agree, you know what? Join the Discord and tell me so. Go ahead. It's all right. I'll let you. Unlike IGN, I won't delete your comment. I may not agree with you, and I may not even respond if you just keep being a jerk about it, but I'm not going to delete it. Unless you start posting horrible stuff, like saying racist things, then yeah, you're going to be taken off. But yeah, call me what you want. I've been called worse by better. So, appreciate you tuning in. Remember, subscribe, twitch.tv/crashreloading. If you're listening live, if you're listening to the podcast, go over there, subscribe, or follow, whatever it is. It doesn't matter to me. One of the two, just so that you get updates. And go to the About section and join the Discord now, before it is owned by Microsoft, probably. That will, the good thing on that is we probably got a year and a half if that actually does happen. $10 billion is a lot of money to transfer. I don't know if anyone knows that. I, however, again, am willing to try. I'm willing to take that sacrifice and let you know how hard it is to get $1 billion from people. So, with that, yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Get out of here. I'm tired of talking to you, frankly. It's just, it feels like this is a really one-sided conversation. It's just talking to you, and I pause constantly to take a drink, and yeah, no, you never say anything. It's just ridiculous. So, with that, I'm Ashen Phoenix. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week. Good night, or good day, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Music, as always, is provided by Husky by the Geek. Visit him at youtube.com/Husky by the Geek to hear all his latest in video game rock covers and original music.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?